I hope you're doing well. Today it's time for a new monthly plan with me video where we'll first prepare a few pages for the next month in my Hobonichi cousin, and we'll also flip through all the July pages and have a chat about how I've been using this journal recently. So let's start by flipping over to this first August page in the daily section and going through all the items I'm planning to use this upcoming month. I come from bullet journaling, so having these specific colors or styles of decorations feels very familiar to me. And since I've been using very bright summery colors for the past few months, I was craving for something a little bit more neutral this time. So I decided to base the decorations around the Botanist Diary collection, which is from my own shop. This has very neutral colors, but still some green and floral designs. I actually have a lot of products in my collection that match these colors and vibes. So some that I took out are these library stickers from By Cherries, which I think will suit the colors very well. And then I have some Ikigai Papir stickers and sparkles and titles from Kiara T Designs that also match the vibes. I think I'm going for some type of light academia theme with florals, something a little bit lighter and more summery than what we did in January, which was more of a dark academia theme. But anyway, that's about my decoration lineup, and we'll start setting the journal by creating a cover page for August as usual, which is what I use these extra pages for in the daily section. I don't really have any other use for these pages, so that's why I like to use them for these scrapbooking style decoration pages, which is always a good way to showcase the general aesthetic of the upcoming month. Anyway, I wanted to use these paper picture booklets that I always forget I own. By the way, all the items I'm showing in the video are listed and linked in the description. I think a lot of these pictures would suit our theme today, but I picked these two pictures that we're gonna layer with some other decorations. I usually like to add some kind of text pattern in the background, and I chose this one that's actually from my current summer collection, but it's obviously a very neutral text pattern that will fit many different themes. And then I wasn't really sure about the layout here because I wanted to add a pretty big monthly title. So before I glued anything on the page, let's first write the August title. Even when I was still bullet journaling, I never used to write with my brush pens. It's not something that I'm very good at, but I've tried to practice some brush pen lettering throughout this year that I've been using the Hobonichi, and I wanted to create this gradient August title using two different brush pen colors. So we are first writing the August title normally with this green brush pen, and then I'm adding a second layer to the lower half of all these letters. I've always wanted to create a title like this. I've seen everyone create them, and I felt so proud of myself for finally being able to somehow write this. And then as the last little detail, we're gonna take a white pen and create these small highlights to each of the letters. So now after we have the title, it was much easier to judge the whole page. So I started to glue these items to the page and also added a few of these small botanical stickers in the background wherever the page looked a little bit too empty. I know this is pretty simple, but I actually really liked the page just like this, and I thought adding something more might be a little bit too much. So we're gonna leave it like this and move on to the back of my journal where I have my Tombow brush pen and ink swatches. I always like to show you a few brush pens that I think match these decorations, and this time I started with the two green pens that we already used. The more brown one is dark ochre and the more green one is called avocado. And after that, I usually like to have a good mixture of light, medium, and dark colors for different purposes. So some light colors I think suit pretty well are opal, cappuccino, and sand. And then some darker brown pens I chose are saddle brown and redwood. I love this color palette. It's pretty fall-ish, but I hope the lighter and more neutral colors make it a little bit more any time of the year appropriate. Then let's flip one page and choose my monthly ink color that I like to use on the daily pages. So I really want to use this brown ink, which is from Takia. This color is called Kurocha. And I actually used the same ink color in January and I remember really liking it. So I'm excited to do my first ink color repeat of the year. I think ideally maybe a little bit lighter, something a bit grayish brown would have been even more perfect for this theme, but I wasn't in a mood to go buy a new ink just for that since I already have a very good brown ink. Then before we flip to the monthly calendar, let's quickly set up my theme overview page, which is this explosion of small decorations in a very tiny space. I'm using the pre-made timetable page for this, and we are starting a new row here, so I'm actually using a little bit more space for this month to cover these weekday titles. This theme overview idea would be much better in a slightly bigger space, but I decided to use this one for it since I don't really have any purpose for the timetable section. But after adding a few small decorations here, let's set up the monthly calendar page next, which is one that is easy to set up before the month actually starts. I've been using my TheCoffeeMosterzCo monthly kits for these pages, and this month I'm using this very fall appropriate September kit that has colors that best suit the colors we need. And this month I'm using this very fall appropriate September kit that has colors that best suit the colors we need. So I started by covering the weekday titles with the stickers, and then I moved ahead and used one of my own thin grit washi tapes. This is in the beige color, which is a very muted light beige. I wanted something super versatile and almost gray, so I'm using this to cover the weekday number rows just to add a little bit of color and structure here. And then we'll go over this tape with some white round number stickers. I realized that I'm using a lot of products from my own shop in this video, but I'll definitely use a lot of other kinds of stuff in the weekly and daily pages. So you'll see how everything turns out in the next monthly planning video when we flip all these August pages. Then I usually like to add a little bit of something to the bottom edge and to this top corner just to hide some of this unnecessary monthly information. I decided to use this floral washi tape here, which maybe ended up being a little bit too colorful or noisy for this page. My design version of this tape is actually a little bit less yellow, but when I order washi tapes from the factory, they sometimes turn out a little bit different than what I was expecting, and there is really nothing that you can do about that because small differences in printing always happens, and I think this tape was still perfectly usable and I really like the design otherwise. But anyway, there's a small backstory about this tape. And then I added a few floral stickers here and there. These are from the Botanist Diary Pet tape, which I released in this updated pre-cut version earlier in the year. I think this might be my most sold pet tape, actually. I think the neutral colors make it very popular, and I'm very happy about that because I really like this tape too. The pet tapes also take the longest to design by far. But anyway, after that, I like to list a few important things this month here on the left column. August is hopefully gonna be a pretty chill month for me. The most important thing that I'll probably spend quite a lot of time on is finalizing all my fall collection designs, or at least the ones that I need to send to a manufacturer. The fall launch is gonna be around mid-September this year. And then other than that, we're gonna have a weekly Plan With Me video after, I think, a 2-month break. And I hope I can share some design sneak peeks and other behind the scenes stuff in that one. But other than that, I don't really have any special plans. I hope I get to read a lot and enjoy the summer, though it's been quite hot here in Japan recently. So going out is not at the top of my list, but knitting or reading inside with an air conditioner sounds like a dream. Oh, also I realized that I forgot to write the monthly title here at the top, so I just used these small alphabet stickers to do that. And then I used 3 different colors to mark my social media posting schedule, which I try to stick with, but sometimes it doesn't really work out. I usually post my YouTube videos on Saturdays, and I like to use these TheCoffeeMosterzCo labels for the videos because they perfectly match the weekday titles at the top. So I'm planning to post the weekly Plan With Me video after the first full week of August, and then we'll have a regular painting tutorial and the September Plan With Me at the very end of the month. I realized that posting these videos a little bit later works better so that I have more pages to show in the flip through part. Then I usually like to write stuff like when I should start filming videos, and I add these colored dots from my Instagram posting days, which again, sometimes happen, sometimes don't. I haven't been super into Instagram recently. But now that the monthly page is finally done, let's move on to the July flip through part of the video. I think July was a pretty interesting, a little bit different month because I was taking some time off, and that definitely affected my use of my journal. As I've mentioned before, I've noticed that I don't really have a routine to pick up my journal during the days off or even during holidays, because there's something about that I associate with a workday morning. I also didn't need to write any tasks for quite some time, so I was a little bit nervous about how I could use all the pages in the Hobonichi, and it turns out that I didn't use everything that much. So, as you can see here in the weekly section, the first 2 weeks are gonna be pretty empty. During this first week, I was still in Finland, and then the next week I was at home, but still not working as normal, at least in the beginning of the week. So I didn't really have anything to write on these weekly pages, and I decided to not stress about it and force myself to write something here. So I just added a few decorations and wrote any notable things that happened. So this next weekly spread looks a little bit more normal. This is when I started working again. My shop was still closed and I mostly spent this week designing the new fall collection items. It was really nice to be able to design in peace and not packing orders and going to the post office in between. So I was really enjoying this easy landing back to work. After that, we have the current week where I decided to try something different. So I usually use the left column to list my important tasks of the week and also to draw my sleep tracker, but I really wanted to use this bigger washi tape, which is also from Henriette Arts, and it's a vertical washi tape. So I added that one here and then did my tasks and sleep tracker here at the bottom edge because I rarely use this whole space and I thought that I could definitely just add it in here. It worked out perfectly. I actually really like the change here, so I might do something similar every once in a while in the upcoming weeks. But then let's move on to the daily section, and we of course start from the monthly cover page. I forgot to mention that I was mainly using these Ikigai Papir garden party stickers, but I also used some other products from Henriette Arts, as I mentioned, and also some from my old summer collection from last year, which just happened to perfectly match all the colors. So we had this purple and green color palette that I really enjoyed using throughout the month. And again, these first few days were when I was still in Finland and I wanted to make an effort to write a lot of stuff in Finnish. So I just wanted to write down a lot of the stuff we did with my family when I was in Finland. And then you'll see that we really dropped the level of effort during my home holiday days. So I adopted this very brief daily journaling style where I added a thin washi tape at the end and also listed my one daily cleaning task, which is something I try to do whenever I have some time off. So even most of these pages are written days later, so I really didn't open my journal that much while I was taking time off. But then when we get back to a more regular schedule, you can see that the journal also returned to its normal state. So we are back with the fuller pages and having a daily task list on the left side. If you're wondering what the difference is between my task list on the daily pages compared to the weekly pages, the daily pages are just way more detailed, and it's something that I write on that specific morning. The weekly pages are just for me to roughly schedule my week, usually on Monday, and then maybe one day during the week. But things usually change a little bit on the way, and the daily pages are just a more up-to-date versions of my task lists. I'm trying to take some close-ups of the decorations and some of the things I've written here. So if there's something worth writing with a brush pen, I usually try to do that, to first of all practice lettering and using these pens. And it's also a great way to add a bit of color and take up some space on these pages. The empty A5 can seem a little bit daunting, especially on the mornings when I don't really have time. But if you add a slightly bigger sticker and a slightly bigger title somewhere, there's not that much space left you need to fill. This one spread in particular had a lot going on. I first used these beautiful girl stickers in long dresses, and then the next day, suddenly my drawing pad that has served me for over 7 years just decided to stop working. Well, it was almost ready to explode. I posted a short video about it on my Instagram stories, so I think it was just a matter of time. I actually already got myself a new drawing pad, which was a little bit of an upgrade from my old one, and I'm very happy about it now. And on the same day, we also heard the first cicadas, which are always around for about 1 month here in July and August. It's one of my least favorite times of the year in Japan because I'm absolutely terrified of these giant flying insects. So I wanted to make sure to record the date we heard them for the first time this year. And then this current week, I've been pretty busy with my shop opening, and there's also a sale going on. It will go on until the end of this month, so you still have an opportunity to get something at a discounted price. The discount goes up to 30%, but most of the unlimited collections and so on are at 20% off. So yeah, this week has been a lot of packing and going to the post office, restocking products and so on. I filmed this video super late, so it's now Friday when I'm recording this voiceover, and I think I'll stay up pretty late today to finish editing the video because I really want to take the whole weekend off. I filmed this video on Thursday and I actually didn't write anything here yesterday morning because it was just a pretty busy day, but I'll add any notable things here later. But I think that's pretty much it for this flip through and the August monthly preparation. We'll talk more about the weekly and daily pages on the upcoming weekly plan with me video, where we'll set up some of them together. If this was your first time around here and you'd like to stay tuned for more art and journaling, definitely consider subscribing. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you got some new ideas and inspirations from this video. I hope you're having a lovely day or night wherever you are, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye bye!